Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Career Success. So, looking forward that you will learn a lot from our guest today. I'm so excited because when it comes to his career, he really have gone through quite a lot, and we could actually learn from him that if you started from this point of your career, then actually you could go to this point of your career. Depends on how you take it, and depends also on the decisions that you will be doing anyway. Let me introduce to you our guest and watch this video and find out how did our guest become successful in his journey of shifting from one career to another, and at the same time as a seafarer, how he is doing a great job. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Career Success. So, I'm simply so excited that all of you are here. To all our viewers and subscribers, welcome, and to all our students, and of course, overseas workers. And, if you're working also in the Philippines, I simply want to say welcome to our show for today. I know you're excited, and I am too. We have a very special guest for today, and he'll be sharing to us his great journey of success in his career. And at the same time, what were the challenges that he had to overcome? And if this is your first time to actually watch this show, I simply want to invite you to subscribe to my channel so that you'll get updated with our latest videos. Plus, you will be able to, you can actually watch the different interesting and inspiring shows that I simply have for you. So that is our different types of talk show. So with that, everyone, so let us welcome our guest. So again, we will be talking about how we can help equip you to become more successful in your career. And today, we have a very special guest with us who will share his career success. And at the same time, not only that, how he actually managed to become successful, even if he shifted from one type of job to another. I believe you can relate. I can relate to him because I did the same, but we will listen to his success stories because, again, some of you might be in the job that you have right now, and it seems as if you would want to, go for another job or do another job. So, but you don't know how to actually do it. And is that really possible? Has there been someone who can really be successful in doing that? Well, this video or this episode is simply for you because our guest actually was able to show us how a person who might be shifting from his original, for example, job chosen and then to another type of job that you can actually really be successful. And if you're a seafarer also, you used to work in a land and you want to work on board. So let us just take a look also what tips he could actually give us. We already had Captain Dexter in our first episode, but today we'll have again another guest who will definitely inspire us with his examples. So with that, everyone, let me share to you and introduce to you our guest for today. Now, he completed his degree in Bachelor of Science in Nursing at the United Doctors Medical Center in QC. He also is a nursing board licensure exam passer, and he is licensed. He also completed different leadership courses from different companies that he had worked for. He worked locally and internationally. So again, if you're working here in the Philippines or internationally, definitely can give you great tips. So stay tuned. And at the same time, I will let our guest share the details of his career journey later about the jobs that he had here in the Philippines and overseas. And did you know that he also used to recruit or source for marine and technical staff for deck and engineering for almost 5 years? And then he actually became the assistant fleet manager for marine and technical operations. And now, for several years, he is currently a seafarer working as a labor analyst in one of the famous cruise line in the world. Now, without further ado, everyone, let me introduce to you our special guest for today. We have Manuel Bernard Martinez. Oh, let us just simply call him Bernard. Hi, Bernard.
Jamie. Thank you for having me. It's definitely an honor to be here. And hello to all of your viewers and followers.
Well, thank you so much. I believe they're so excited also to have you here. Thank you, Bernard. It's such a great privilege to, have you as a guest. And at the same time, I know I and our guests will definitely learn a lot about your career success. Now,
Hopefully.
yeah, I believe so. Now, how many years have you been working as a seafarer?
Well, I've been working for about 15 years now, on and off, because I resigned at one time and then worked ashore, and then I came back being
Mm-hmm.
a seafarer. So, all in all, it's about 15 years.
Wow, that's quite a great length of years that definitely you can draw from your vast and rich experiences. Now, on that note, what do you like about working as a seafarer?
Ooh, working as a I'll be honest and straightforward. No, number one, definitely, it's the salary. It's the compensation. I think most of us Filipinos working abroad, and that's the main reason why we go abroad anyway. We can find that salary here, so we go abroad to look for greener pastures, as they say. So that's definitely the top on the top of the list. The secondary would be, traveling for free, uh, working internationally, working with like you said, one of the famous companies in the world. So
Wow,
yeah.
that's quite great, and I believe that's a great inspiration, especially either for the students who are working in tourism and HRM or any other courses. Later, we'll talk about that. So it's not limited to HRM or tourism only, right,
Yes,
Bernard?
yes, yes, yes.
Because definitely whatever course that you might have, or sometimes some they have not even completed, like for example their university degree, but you have some certification, so definitely that's something that are also considered. Now, on that note, what roles or what was the role you had, and at the same time the role that you now have as a seafarer?
Oh, okay. So I used to work in the office, clerical work. I've been a telephone operator, radio operator, customer service representative. So those are the kinds of work that I do before. Documentation, most of it. And then now as a seafarer, at first I work as an operations assistant for the engineering department on board the ship. And then now as an HR, part of the HR as a labor analyst.
Wow, such a, the diversity when it comes to the roles that you have had. I see how you can definitely use it also to your advantage, because there are different skills that you've gained from those positions, right? How are you using those skills that you've gained and knowledge also in your current job right now?
At the start, I didn't know. I graduated as a nurse. And
Uh-huh.
then I started my work. I didn't know I'm being trained to be in the industry that I don't even think about. When I started working, I started as a admitting staff or front desk information in a hospital. So I accepted it because I don't have the license yet at that time. And then I was offered the telephone operator, the radio operator. So from there, I'm actually being trained in the hospitality industry already. And I didn't know. And I didn't know. So all the all the knowledge and skills that I learned from that, I made it my strength. That would be your strength actually. So I made it my strength, and then whichever position uh, I go, I use all of those strengths and then uh, enhance it more.
And I agree again with what you've said. It seems as if it really, I mean, those possessions, it really molded you,
Yeah.
to be a great part of the famous cruise line that you are working for, because hospitality, it is something that it's hard to not everyone we can say are fit for the hospitality industry. But because of, I think, what you've gained, and at the same time your passion also, I can see that it really helped you to be a perfect fit
Yes.
for the for what you have right now. And if there's one thing, Bernard, what are the top 2 or 3 things that seafaring or being a seafarer had taught you in life?
Wow. Huh. Number one would be courage. You have to have an ample amount of courage to do it. You know,
I agree.
to be to be going somewhere by yourself,
Mhm.
on a place that you don't know, on an atmosphere and environment that you don't know about. That's definitely courage is on top of the list. Uh, you have to have an open mind because of all the differences, because you'll be meeting different people from different nationalities, from different places. And if you don't have an open mind about it, and it won't work.
Mm.
Yeah. And then also I've learned that no matter where you came from, whatever your nationality is, a person is still a person that has basic needs. And those basic needs are the same as yours. So if once you learn that, you will be able to talk to people or engage with other people like normally. You won't be afraid anymore because we have that. Like Filipinos have that. We are
Mm.
very afraid of other nationalities because we see them like superior to us. But that's not the case. They're just same as you, human being. They have basic needs just like you.
That's a great point that you have mentioned, Bernard, that sometimes, one, courage is very important that you have to have in order for you to become a successful seafarer or, as an overseas worker. And you've mentioned a very good point that sometimes we tend to, like Filipinos, or let us just say anyone who's not speaking English as a first language, they tend to fear or lose that courage
Yes, yes.
to face, other people, or to just simply be themselves. And I believe, because knowing Bernard, he's one of those that, he was able to show his skills, his talents overseas by simply bringing that courage with him. How did it make a difference in your career, Bernard, overseas, having that courage?
Oh, if I didn't have it,
Mhm.
I won't stay there for long. I would have uh, I would have gone home after 2 weeks. You have to have that courage. You have to get it from somewhere. Like you have to think of your family. You have to think of the future in order for you to get that courage. Actually, so you divert your whatever insecurities that you have. You divert it into a more meaningful one, like your family, and then convert it into courage. That's how I did it. That's my thinking when I started there.
Thank you so much, Bernard, for that. So, everyone, if you are, thinking, will I shift my career, or will I shift to a career that is, again, from land based to sea based? So, definitely, if it's overseas, you have to bring courage with you, land based. But just like what Bernard had mentioned, if you will become a seafarer, that's double the courage that you
Actually,
really, right, Bernard, double the
to
courage.
be
Uh-huh.
living alone, taking care of yourself alone on the ship, even when you're sick, there's nobody there to comfort you. It's just you. So you have to think about that ahead of time. What would you do if I'm sick? But there's a medical center on board, but
Mhm.
there's nobody to comfort you. Especially before, communication is very difficult. You
Oh,
have to call
yes, long time
hard.
ago.
You have
Uh-huh.
to, you have to make the phone call. You have to fall in line just to make the phone call. And now it's easier. But before, it will be difficult.
So wow, just imagine our seafarers who started, long time back, just like what Bernard had mentioned, when communication was not as easy, and it was not like one click for now, it's just one click, right?
Yes,
And we have
yes.
different apps from the phone.
And
So I think I have to be honest, Bernard, I think that technology helped me, gave me courage to, actually became a seafarer, because I would love to always communicate with my family. So that's why I'm thankful also for the technology. But now it made me realize, Bernard, that seafarers who started long time before, wow, the amount of courage, and not only that, the sacrifice, I believe, right? The sacrifice that you have to do in order for you to earn money, to be away from your family, and the sacrifice of falling in line. Oh,
yes,
those phones, I think at one area of the the ship, right?
yes, yes.
Oh, got
You
it.
fall in
Yes.
line there. You wait
Uh-huh.
for your turn to be on the phone. You have to
Mm-hmm.
have your card ready. It's a
Mm-hmm.
scratch card, and you cannot. The call cannot be cut because once the call is cut,
That's it.
you cannot use the card anymore.
Oh, okay. Because everyone, what we are talking about is because, like in a ship, most of the ship, if it's not a new one, they will usually have like a part or a corner wherein they have like several, that typical
Yes,
telephone
yes,
that's hanging on the wall,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yes. And I was thinking, because when I joined, it was not as often used. And I was thinking before, what is this used for? Because we already have the cell
Yes.
phone, the app. So now Bernard now gave me a clear idea. Okay, got that. That is what those phones are for. Okay. Oh, speaking of, well, if there's one thing, so communication now is made easy because of technology, and just like what he had said. So first one is courage. What was the second one? Another great lesson that that seafaring have
Uh,
taught you.
you have to have an open mind.
Open mind. Yes, exactly.
You have
Uh,
to have an open mind because you will be working, dealing with different culture,
yes.
background, different people, different way of talking, you
Uh,
know. So you have to have an open mind and accept that
mhm.
there will be people that are different from you.
Yes, exactly. Different is different, but different is not wrong. And I think, Bernard, that when we say different, it's not only with other nationalities, but even with fellow Filipinos, for example, because I'm so glad and so blessed, because on board, that's the only time, we have Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, right? And not all the time. Like I'm from Calabar zone. B, where are you from? Are you
I'm from
from
Manila,
Calabarzon, Manila?
MCR.
He's from Manila. So we don't really get the chance to go, for example, to Mindanao or Visayas or even further part of Luzon. But on board, that is actually where we will meet, right?
Yes.
So, and we get to know like other cultures also about
Yes.
the Philippines, which is quite great. So again, just like what Bernard had mentioned, so it's great to be open-minded with other nationalities, but also sometimes with our fellow Filipinos who might be from other places in the Philippines. Now,
Yes.
speaking of places,
Yeah, this is what I said. I've learned that even wherever you came from, whatever
yeah,
nationality you are, a person is still a person that has a basic needs.
yeah.
The
So
same. So you're basically just
uh-huh.
same.
Yes. So that's very important, everyone, so that at least it's not only me, myself, and I, but
Yes.
it's also it should be us. It should be we. And I think that's how it will make you stay longer to
Yes.
work as a seafarer, right, Bernard? And then at the
Yes.
same time, overseas or whatever part, whether it's land based or sea based, if you always think of we and not me, myself, and I, that will be helpful. Oh, I
Yes.
said something about the places. So before we talk about places, so please remember what, again, Bernard had mentioned. So again, courage, again, respecting, make sure that at least you're
Minded.
open-minded, and at the same time, you respect also people from other cultures. Now, on that note, he mentioned one of the perks or one of the things that he loved about being a seafarer is, of course, going from one place to another. On that note, what are the top three favorite countries or ports you love visiting and
Wow.
why?
Top three. Wow. Uh,
With so many, right?
with so many, the US is always there. I mean,
Uh-huh.
because we work in the US. But most of the places that I really like is in Europe.
I agree.
Italy, Spain, Portugal, I mean, Iceland. There's
I
so
miss
many.
that.
I mean, yeah, those are the places that I really, love.
Yes, I just remembered the pandemic crisis because during that time I think I was supposed to I was supposed to be on board for the Mediterranean. Cruising, but then again, pandemic happened. So the countries that he mentioned, Iceland, I was really looking forward for that, but I was not able to. But anyway,
Yeah.
let's see one of these days again. But indeed, those are very beautiful places. Now, again, you mentioned something about working with other nationalities. Just an estimate for the audience who are not able to yet work overseas, estimate on board a ship. How many nationalities estimate only do you usually work with?
Wow. With the company that we worked before, we
Mm-hmm.
worked. It was more than 60. I think
Oh,
there's
yeah.
100. I think there's 190 something nationalities, right? But on board, we were working
Mm-mm.
more than 60 nationalities at one time.
Yeah, that's quite a lot, right? So
A
depends on
lot.
who's on board.
It's very diverse.
Exactly. That's quite great too, because at least we get to know a lot of people. And then, what do you like working in multicultural workplace?
Wow, it's very interesting to me to find out, especially other nationalities, to find out their culture, how they how they think, how they react to something that we react differently. I mean, if there's a if we do something like this way, they might be doing it in another way, but probably better for work. I don't know, but that interests me, to know their culture, to know their background. Why do they think that way? I mean, why do they talk that way? It's very interesting to me.
And that's true. Like, because sometimes before same with Bernard, before we actually had flown to work overseas, it seems we think that, everyone is the same, but actually there are a lot of things that are different, not only, again, with fellow Filipinos, but also from other nationalities. So I
Yes,
definitely agree. That's one great thing about working in a multicultural workplace. And learning the language as well. You know a
language,
lot.
yes, the language as well. Yes.
And
You'll find out that some of our words are the same as theirs.
mhm.
That's very interesting to me. Like trivia like things.
Yes, exactly. And then at the same time, what are the challenges? So those are the things that you love when it comes to, or like when it comes to working with, people with different nationalities or in the multicultural workplace. But what are the common challenges that you faced working in a multicultural workplace, and how did you overcome?
Top one,
Mhm.
communication. Always is communication. You have to adjust the way you deliver your message so that he or she would understand what you're trying to say. It's always the communication. Um, on the ship, we have one language, which is English, right? But even if they talk in English, the way they communicate, some people you might see that, why is this person always angry? Why is this person too soft? Why can't I understand his English? To understand their English, it's very fast. So definitely communication. You have to adjust always, so that you'll be able to be understood.
Yeah, so adjustment. So I cannot help but smile when you mentioned that, the language communication is definitely top one, because even if we speak English, like in the Philippines, ever since we're young, we're speaking in English already. However, when we talk with other, depends if it's a native English speaker, and at the
Yes,
same time, if it's someone like us using English as a second language, so depends on how they are using it. That
exactly.
that makes it special.
Yes. So
So,
even Filipinos, we,
uh,
on board, we have one.
uh,
We have to use one language like English, right?
yes, that's
Even
true.
with fellow
Mm-hmm.
Filipinos, when I tell them, "Oh, you have to speak in English,"
Mm-hmm.
because there's people around, they might hear you, so you
Oh,
have to
that's a
speak
good
in
one.
English. So as soon as he talks to me in English, I don't even understand. I sometimes I need to pull him aside. Come here, talk in Tagalog, so I can understand you.
Yes, that's important. So just in case that at least if we speak the same language, at least we could do that. However, I love what Bernard had mentioned. So like in the environment, especially with other nationalities, avoid as much as you can speaking in our own language. It's part of what we call respect as well. So I think Bernard and I, when someone talks to us in Tagalog, if it's in front of other nationalities, we usually have to speak in English, because just to show respect. And exactly what he said, if needed, then we step aside.
Yeah.
And then that's the time, you can actually converse to just the two of you. How valuable is that, Bernard?
Oh, it's definitely well. You things won't be going if you cannot communicate, effectively.
Yes.
Especially us, we're training people. I do my training as well in MLC. We train people. If the message doesn't come across, then it's a failure. You won't get the results that you are expecting or you would like to have if you don't get the message across correctly. So it's very, very, very important.
So everyone, even if what Bernard is saying, even if we know the English language, it's more on understanding the nuances, or let us just say, whatever could become a barrier in communication when you're actually working on board a ship or overseas. So try to figure that out, so that at least, just like what he said, whether it's training or maybe working in the actual project or workplace, there will be clear understanding between the two of you, because sometimes you might be using the same word but it might mean
Differently.
differently.
That's
It can
good.
have, like, for example, spices. I remember, Bernard, I was working, like in the Philippines, when we say spices or spicy, it means
It's it's
it's
spicy.
hot. Yes, it's spicy. It's hot. However, I learned with one of my colleagues before in the airlines, because we were supposed to visit her house, and then one of our colleague or co-facilitator is saying Jamie doesn't like spicy food. Okay, because I have low tolerance when it comes to hot, spicy food. But in their country, they use a lot of spices.
Yes. Yes.
So she was so confused and say, how can I prepare a delicious food without any spices?
But
So she was so worried. She came to me and sat, and she was really worried. And she said, Jamie, uh, like one of our co-facilitators said that you don't eat food with spices. I'm having difficulty. How can I cook a delicious food without spices? So I told him, no, a dash will do, a dash of spices. No, Jamie, you don't understand. And then she showed me a picture with a lot of different bottles of spices. And I got her point. Oh, okay. So I asked her, no, that's not what I meant. It's not the spices, but the spicy one, the hot. Ah, and she said chili.
chili.
Chilies go.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, that is what I mean. So those are what we actually, Bernard and I meant. It's
Yes.
to those simple little things, hoping it will not create a big miscommunication, especially when we're dealing with guests. So if you need to clarify it, clarify it. It's okay to ask because communication is a great key. Now, on that note, another great thing that we can learn from Bernard is, aside from learning about working in a multicultural workplace, is he has been a leader also for several years. So I would want to ask, for you who, I mean, for our viewers who want to become leaders someday, or you're working on it, or maybe you just started it, describe your leadership style to us, Bernard.
Wow, leadership style. uh, I would say I don't have a specific one. It's a mix of everything.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the situation. It depends on the person that I'm dealing with. It depends on how I adjust. So it's a mix of like coaching, support, I'm directive. It depends on the person that I'm working with. That's the kind of lead. I cannot stay in one. I know there's a graph, right? Like this graph, well, whichever quadrant you belong to, right?
Uh-huh.
It changes every time.
That's good.
Every time it changes. So it depends on the person that I'm dealing with, the situation that I'm with. Uh, I adjust accordingly.
That is what is important, and that is what leadership is all about. Simply because people have different also like personalities, and as a leader, it's good that you are flexible, and that is what we need, especially in this trying pandemic times, right? So,
Yes.
and on that note, also, we could also take a look at. From your point of view, because you also, aside from being a leader yourself, you also have dealt with a lot of leaders and interacted with them. Um, in a summary, like maybe three characteristics that you think a leader should possess.
A leader should possess.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Or,
Um, this is what I always tell myself.
mm-hmm.
Whenever I'm a leader, right?
Uh-huh.
I always say to to the people that I work with, you're not here to work for me, but I'm here to work with you.
I love that. Same.
Okay. But at the end of the day, if I'm the boss, I'm the boss. So that's I want people to, because becoming a leader, people should be following you. In order for them to follow you, it's you have to lead them to follow you. You cannot tell them follow me.
Mhm.
You cannot direct them to follow you, but they will do it by themselves. So you have to gain their trust. You have to be that person that they want to follow as a leader. So that's to become a leader. I think that would, for me, that should work.
Yes, exactly what you've mentioned. A leader is someone that gains the respect of his or her follower because of the guidance that he or she actually provides without the need for to force it or command it. And I agree with Bernard. I think when I cannot, I really am very nodding because a leader is someone who, just like what he said, you work with the team, and the team doesn't work for you because that will only be a manager, right?
Exactly.
And that's why now we have the leadership skills, and I can see that in Bernard a lot. I've worked with him for more than a year, so I really can attest that he was able to show that, see that, and he gained the respect of people around him. The authority established, not forced. Yeah, so that is it naturally is given because you don't really have to force it upon people, but once they see it in you, definitely they will give it to you. Now, one of the leadership position that Bernard actually had before was as an assistant fleet manager. On that note, Bernard, I would like to ask you, what are the 5 characteristics this time that you see that will make a successful seafarer candidate for the deck and engineering team?
Oh, okay. Technical people. So
Yes.
number one, whenever you're dealing with technical people, I think not even technical people in general.
Mm-hmm.
Number one is you have to be safety conscious. We always say safety first,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to be safety conscious, especially when you're working as a deck cadet, from deck cadet to whichever deck officer that you'll be, and even in engineering as well, especially in engineering. So you have to be safety conscious. Next, you have to be honest. You cannot do shortcuts. You have to be honest about your work. You have to be flexible. You have to be knowledgeable of the task that you need to do. And lastly, you need to be hardworking. I think that would be a successful seafarer, somebody who will be working in a technical department.
So please take note of those 5, because if you really would want to, not only get a job, but at least have a career. So that's why we're having this talk show for all of you. It's simply because we want you to stay in that job and enjoy it, like it, love it, and live a great life also. Because if you have those 5, just like what was mentioned, especially the first one, which is safety comes first in everything, right, Bernard? So just like what he had said, definitely, if you help first, keep yourself safe. That's very important.
Definitely, whatever you do, even if you're at home, you have to be safety first, safety
Yeah.
conscious, or else you won't live long.
Yes. So that is important, because if you have it already in you, it's part of your lifestyle, not only a habit, then it's easy for you to bring it in the workplace and be conscious also. Now I remembered, Bernard, my occupational health and safety. So anyway, that will be a different video, everyone. But just like what he had mentioned, so again, safety comes first at home and even at work. So that's very important. We're not Superman or Superwoman. We have our limitations, and you have to know what are those and use, the PPE
Yeah,
that you are given. Have you witnessed quite a number of like incidents, Bernard, wherein there are prescribed PPE, but people did not use their personal protective equipment and accident happened?
I would say 90, probably 98% of all the accidents on board are
Mhm.
because they're not using proper PPE.
Yes, and that is like, in different industries
Yeah.
and different cruise lines. That
Yes.
is quite true. So please be very careful. PPEs are there. Okay, so that at least you can use it. And if you really, again, just like what you've said, work in that industry for a long time, because just like what you've mentioned, Bernard, I believe like there are those still very young, right? But then again, they were not able to finish not only the contract but their career on board or on land, or simply because they have to be sent home because
Yes.
they're not physically fit anymore because
Yes.
of the health was, yes, because of the hazard, and safety was not taken into consideration. Now, why are we emphasizing this? It's simply because what we wanted is not only to help you get a job, but also once you have the job, you'll do great in all aspects. Now, on that note also, as a leader, Bernard, how do you usually handle conflict or challenges in the workplace? What
Oh,
are tips you could give our viewers?
conflict. Okay. So these are difficult conversations
Mm-hmm.
that you will have. I I always go back to the 7 habits of Stephen Covey. One of the habits says, start with the end in mind. So you should be starting whatever conversation that you will have you start them with what you want to achieve, in difficult situations. Because from there, you go from there to talk about and resolve whatever differences you have. And then you should always seek to understand before to be understood. You have to listen first. You have to listen first, because if you keep on talking, definitely those people who are having, difficult differences, uh, it will not be resolved, definitely. So you have to seek to understand than to be understood. You have to have the goal in mind, the end in mind, before you start any conversation. So you can immediately, you already have a common goal as soon as you start the talk.
Yes, I love what you've said. So, seek to understand than to be understood. Because again, it only shows that because if you try to seek to be understood first, that's me, myself, and I again,
Yes.
right? And at least if you are actually seeking to understand others, then it shows that you know the we really works a lot. And combining with what you've said, looking at the bigger picture, because at least if you have the bigger picture, you know where to steer,
Exactly.
how to
Exactly.
navigate the conversation if in case it goes elsewhere or a detour that you don't want it to go. At least you can steer it back to the direction that you actually want to go if you know where you
Yes.
want to go, right? So
Yes.
that's very important. Please take note of that. And I love what Bernard also had mentioned, listening. Sometimes we're too quick to talk,
It's
right?
easier to talk
Yeah. Than to.
than to listen.
And on that note, everyone, when I think I was still in the UAE, there was a research that came out, and a lot from the research. At first, I didn't believe it because I don't have any challenges when it comes to, I mean, listening, unless I don't understand the accent or the actual word. Then that's the time. But did you know, Bernard? They said that again, exactly what you've mentioned too. A lot of people tend to speak more than to listen. And it's actually a challenge in the workplace because that's where I think conflict is not handled very well. Because from what you have said, a lot of people is thinking of the me, myself, and I. They
Yes.
don't seek to understand. So that's why the listening ears are.
Blank.
Yeah, so everyone, that's a quite a great advice, especially those who are afraid of conflict. Have you met people who are afraid of conflict, Bernard? Because Bernard is a person I've known that, you know, when it comes to his leadership skill, he's very assertive. And I love it about him because he's able to really deal with a situation.
Yes, definitely. There are people who are afraid of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's I think it's a skill that you have need to have
Yes.
to address conflict. It doesn't come easily. You have, but I think the basic thing that you can do is listen and understand.
Yes.
Listen, understand. That's it.
That is where actually it starts, right? And on that note, everyone, for all the aspiring leaders out there, and for those who are already leaders and you still feel that you are afraid of conflict, so listen to what he had just said. What Bernard said, it's a skill. So a skill is not you are born with. It means you will have to gain it. So how can you gain it? So again, please attend training sessions. Sometimes you gain it through experience, but sometimes if you need a little bit of, you know, thorough formal training, practical trainings from your, for example, with your trainers on board, then please make the most out of it, especially if they're giving it to you. If not, attend one of my sessions because those. So that is something that I am focusing on because just like what a lot of people are afraid, but tried and tested like Bernard and I, you know, once you apply it and you have that skill, it makes our life easier, right? I mean,
Yes.
challenges are there, but we can deal with it with courage. Again, I'll use
Yes.
what Bernard had mentioned earlier. It's
You have to have it.
yeah. So if you have that courage, at least you can deal with the situation effectively. And on that note, because it's very important, the next question I have for Bernard is how do you keep the team motivated and engaged? Right? Because again, conflicts can happen, differences can happen, a multicultural, the diversity is there, but how do you keep the team motivated in spite of and despite of?
Oh, you have to. Number one, just like what I said, you start with the end in mind.
Uh-huh.
The goal should be clear to all of your people that you work with. You, you have to deliver it to them. It should be clear to all of you what to do.
Mhm.
And it will keep you motivated, definitely, because, you're achieving a common goal. You're working towards a common goal. It's the we. So once you see that people are working with you, together with you, it's the we, then you'll be motivated, definitely.
So that's the key word, we. So that's very important. So again, when you work, remember it's not, no one is an island, just like what they've said. I mean, introverts, I understand that sometimes you need to be alone, but then again, it's very important that you know how to mingle as well. I'm partly introvert, but I'm also a little bit of extrovert. But there is a need for me to, just take time and have my me time.
Yes.
I'm quite known for that of me time. So,
Okay.
and then, but when is the time to actually mingle? Because it's very important. And just like what was mentioned by Bernard, once you have that we and the team can actually feel that from the leader, it's easy. The burden, it will not be as if the burden is on your shoulders alone, right? It is as if okay, the team can help me with this. Okay, we are together in this, rather than feeling, oh my God, how can I actually resolve this problem? So it becomes very burdensome.
It's
Yes.
never gonna be an I anymore because we talked about before it was called a manager. So
Yes.
the manager managed by himself. He manages whatever he can manage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we call it a leader. You cannot
Uh-huh.
be a leader without a follower. So
Uh-huh.
it's gonna be a we, definitely.
Yes.
So once the goal is clear, the goal is understood, you know where you're going, what your next steps are, definitely you'll be motivated.
Yes, exactly. So again, everyone, please remember that, because I believe you have to definitely keep your team motivated, and that is what you can actually simple, one word, two letters. So definitely, it's a we. Now, from the career of Bernard. So again, as I've shared to you, he became a recruiter, and at the same time, he also became an assistant fleet manager. What are the tips that you can give to aspiring assistant fleet manager, or it's like an HR manager, right? For
Yeah.
an agency. So if there are people who are like working in an agency right now and they are aspiring to be one, what are the tips that you could give them?
Oh, okay. So as an assistant fleet manager, I do all the recruitment, interview, the documentation, the presentation of the crew member to the principal for final interview, the deployment, and then once you're deployed, you come back home, and then I process you again, right? So to become one of that, you have to know all the details of the job. You have to know it. If you're working with technical people, you have to know technical aspects of the job. You cannot be interviewing somebody and ask questions that you yourself doesn't know the answer to. So it won't work. So you have to know all the details of the job. You have to know, very importantly, you have to know the resources that are available for you, because not every you will not know everything, right? You cannot know everything. So that's why you need to know the resources that are available for you if ever you need them. Okay, you have to anticipate all the things that might happen. For example, there's an applicant, and then you had them processed, approved by the principal, interviewed and everything, but failed the medical exam. So you have to anticipate this kind of applicant, you should have a backup. So you have to be proactive, because you'll never know that the medical comes in the later part. After all the interviews and documentations have been done, now you go for medical, and now you can't pass the medical. So you cannot deliver an employee or a candidate to your, employer. So you have to be proactive. You have to plan ahead. So those are you have to know all the details of the job. You need to know the resources, all the resources that are available for you. You have to anticipate, be proactive, and plan ahead.
Yes. Wow, those are great tips, everyone. So very important. I think those characteristics and traits apply, of course, if you want to become a fleet manager, but at the same time as a leader, right? So that's
Yeah.
very important. But again, zoom in particularly to that position. So thank you so much for sharing that, because again, details are very important. You are expected to be the subject matter expert of
Exactly.
the job that you have right now, or the people that you will be recruiting for. And then just like what you've said, maximize the resources. Yes, there's a budget, but if we could maximize it with the resources that you have, that's quite great. And anticipation, plan B,
Yes.
plan C. So
Yeah.
contingency must be there, because you'll never know, right? Especially with a health
Proactive. Yeah.
condition. Yes, the result of the medical. So that's why health is wealth, everyone. So please take good care of it. Safety comes first, and plan. So just like what we've always been saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So just like what Bernard had emphasized, so that's very important. So please take note of all those, because it will definitely be helpful for you. Now, if thinking of the industry and thinking also of what had happened in the past few years, I am just very curious from your point of view, Bernard, because you have been in the seafaring industry for quite some time. How do you think, or how did the pandemic crisis affect the seafarer industry?
Wow. It definitely has a big effect, especially deployment of the seafarers. No, in the seafaring, the maritime industry, we have like two classes, like the industrial side of the maritime industry, and the, like what we work on, the cruise industry, right? So in the industrial side, it went on, but it was just difficult for people to be sent off to whatever country, or to replace somebody on board and go home. So those are the difficulties, but it went on because we need the goods. Somebody will need to deliver the oil, the gas, the food that we need. So it went on. But for the cruise industry, definitely, because it's leisure, uh, it has to stop. It stopped for two years. So it
That
has a big toll
Mhm.
for those who are in the cruise industry.
Yes, quite a great thought. It was quite long. It's like we never really, nobody actually envisioned that this will happen, but it really happened. So, from how you describe it, it really had taken a great toll in the hospitality industry, particularly the seafaring or cruise industry. Now, in spite of Bernard, could you give at least 2 to 3 great lessons that you also have, gained from the pandemic crisis that it taught you and you learned as a leader?
Okay, so I wasn't expecting the pandemic to happen, so I thought that I'd be coming back, like a regular after my vacation, come back on board and work again. So number one, save. Save. You will never know that you will be needing those money that you'll be saving. You'll never know. Just like this one, I didn't know that I won't be having a job for 9 months. So luckily, I really saved on my last contract before that 9 months. And then I also realized that seafaring is not permanent. It, it's not a permanent job. It's a contractual job, actually. Luckily for us, in the company that we worked on, before before you go back, before you go on leave, you already have your contract, your next contract line up.
Yes.
When you receive your ticket going home, your ticket coming back is just underneath. So you already know when you're coming back. Unlike on different or other companies, it's not like that. So you have to go back to the office and like apply again. Luckily for us, it's like that. But this is not permanent. You have to invest in something because eventually, you'll have to stop. This is not permanent. And then the third one is you have to be humble. You have to accept. Sometimes when you don't have work, some of the crew members that I know, they started delivering, delivery companies. They rode the motorcycle and deliver. Before they were earning lots and lots of money on board, and now they're on that delivery earning how much? Doesn't even the, it doesn't even make for a day. So yeah, that's what I've learned. You have to save. This job is not permanent. You have to be humble and ready to accept, other possibilities in life.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. Now, because pandemic, although of course it's nobody wanted to lose jobs, nobody wants companies to close, and of course to lose lives as well. But again, in every situation, there could be possible things that we could take a look at. And just like what Bernard had mentioned, so as a leader, he actually had seen how saving is important, because the saying, Bernard, usually they say, save for the rainy day. So now save, but I hope no other pandemic crisis will happen. But
2-year rainy days.
yes, imagine. But really, savings, even for just like what Bernard had mentioned, for me, it really helped as well. Savings really is very important. But we know for a fact that, savings can get depleted, especially if there's no incoming. So I salute all those seafarers and even other overseas workers and those who were working before, like in a company, but they humble themselves, just like what Bernard had mentioned, to do jobs that they were not doing just to make ends meet. Because sometimes life is just simply like that. Sometimes they say you're on top. Sometimes unexpectedly, because of what happened, cruise line operations stop, and then suddenly you don't have any other means of earning, so you simply have to take what you can at that point in time. It doesn't make you less of a person. Less salary, yes, but less of a person, no, definitely no. Because the more like for me, I admire people who are like that. And soon again, see, now the cruise line operation is open once again. So looking forward that again this pandemic now is becoming endemic, and then looking forward that it will just be something that is normal, that is just like the flu that we have right now, so that people can go back to the jobs that they have. But again, for the meantime, but hoping you'll maintain that humility.
Yes.
Because
Definitely.
that's very important too. So that's quite great. So, speaking of that, since cruise line operations has now once again resumed, its journey or its actual operation. So, some of you might be thinking of applying once again for the positions such as deck and engineering. So, who better to ask? Okay, tips on what are the basic qualifications that usually a recruiter will be looking if you will be working, or if you are working land-based and you would want to work as a seafarer. Let's ask, of course, Bernard. So, Bernard, what are the basic qualification you usually look for an applicant when you were a recruiter for a deck team and then an engineering team member?
Oh, okay. Okay. So whenever an applicant comes to me,
Uh-huh.
my first question is always about
Mm-hmm.
safety.
Okay.
I ask them, what is SMS? I'm giving the secrets already. So that's what I ask them first. do you know what SMS is? Why do you need SMS? No, for those who don't know what SMS is safety management system. All the ships around the world, all the companies have their own SMS. It's more probably the same in generally, but they definitely have an SMS, and they have this because it is very important. Okay, for safety. So that would be my first introductory question for an applicant. Do you know what SMS is, and why is it important? And then I would ask some details about the SMS. You know, why do you have this? Why do you need a hot work permit? Why do you need an enclosed space entry permit? Why do you need those? So what are the requirements? So that would be because these are technical people. They should know. Number two, I would be asking their flexibility and different working conditions. Not all the time you'll be working on the same thing on board. Sometimes you'll be working on a different part of the ship, on a different kind of work. So I would like to know if that person is flexible. So I would ask him or her, what works have you worked on your ship, your previous ship? Or if he doesn't have any experience but has the knowledge, I would ask about that. What are the different parts of the ship that that there will be work? Okay, so that would be my second line of questioning, and then I will test their technical knowledge. Some terminologies. What is a monkey fist? For somebody who doesn't, if you don't know that, then that's basic. So I would ask I would test their technical knowledge, and then lastly would be their attitude towards work and personality. You will see their demeanor, the way they talk, the way they answer your questions, the way they ask questions, because I ask them if they have any questions for me. For example, as soon as you sit in front of me, and before I can even ask you a question, an applicant would ask me, how much is the salary? So that, to me, personality wise, is already I cannot accept something like that. You have to know the company that you'll be working on, so you have to do the research. Sometimes I ask, why are you applying here? Oh, I just wanted to try. And then you're not, no, I can't hire you if you just wanted to try, because you won't last. You have already a set of expectation, and it won't happen. So the personality thing. So those are the four major line of questionings that I do. But that's just me. I don't know about the other fleet managers, but that's me. That's how I would understand an applicant.
Oh, that's great tips already. So applicants, please take note of that, huh? So you have to be prepared, especially if you would want to join the deck team or deck. So deck or engineering team. So definitely, Bernard had given you great golden nuggets of advice. So please make sure that you know what SMS is. I believe you do. So if you don't, maybe you forgot. So please remind yourself, what is that? Flexibility. So just like what you have said, so that's very important, especially on board the ship. That's very important. You really have to. You will bend, but you will not break. That is important. But then again, we have to learn that. And then technical terms, so you have to know your craft. So that's very important. Attitude, I believe, Bernard, like for us trainers even, I can give knowledge, I can give skills, but attitude is something that cannot be bought. I can inspire, but attitude is what you bring with you,
Yes.
to make that the job or the technical part even better. So sometimes, just like what Bernard had mentioned, we hire not only based from technical
Yeah,
skills, but
yeah,
more on exactly what you had mentioned, the attitude. So
personality.
the personality, it's not what you ask, it's how you ask things, because it shows what is within, right? So please make sure that at least you work communication. So we'll go back to that communication. What comes out comes from within, and that's what the recruiters actually also see. So communication is not only important on board, but before you actually get on board,
Yeah,
you have to pass that interview, right? And speaking of demeanor, so let us just say, so the golden nuggets were given already by Bernard, so you passed, okay? That's what we're aiming for. That's why we have this. You passed the interview. Now we want you to actually, just like what we kept saying, keep the job for a long time and have it as a career. Now let's ask Bernard. Bernard, based from your, length of, great experience on board, what were the 3 to 5 behaviors you did observe very helpful on board that will help any seafarer succeed? And what are the 3 to 5 poor behaviors that you saw, these behaviors or attitude, when a seafarer have this, it can cause danger to one's career at sea?
Oh, yes. So definitely, as always, safety first. So being safety conscious is the number one always priority is safety. Say being safety conscious would really help you and to keep your job, to keep working, to keep helping your family. Now, open-minded, because you'll be working with different nationalities, different cultures, different environment. So you really have to accept everything that's in front of you. No? Of course, the technical competency should be there as well. You have to be technically competent. You cannot just say that I'll learn it on board. No, you have to be technically competent. And very importantly, you must be willing to work. Some people are not just willing to work, they just keep on complaining. So that's one of the negative ones. You keep always complaining about work, narrow-minded, confrontational crew members who try to recruit other crew members just to make a point. We know all about that. Careless. Careless will once you remove safety on your mind, you go home immediately. It's either you go home in cast or in a casket. Those are I think that would be, once you're there, those are the fundamental things to survive on board.
Thank you so much for giving that. So everyone, please, we do want you to, stay on board, and thrive in your career. So just like what Bernard had mentioned, always safety first. I think that's for all careers or all types of job. Just like what you had mentioned, open-minded as always. Simply because changes happen, especially this pandemic crisis. You know what, Bernard, I was there on board. We were both there before the pandemic actually had began, and being there also in pandemic, a lot of people hate uncertainty. A lot of people don't like changes. If we can remain in the comfort zone, we will do that. But everyone, we are now transitioning to the new normal. We're not yet there, so it means there will be quite a lot of changes. Like, right, Bernard? So you
That's the only actually that's the only constant thing in the world.
yes, yes, I remember that.
If you
Oh,
don't embrace it, then nothing's gonna happen to you.
yes, so please make sure so open-minded, and then again, culture. So keep on adjusting. Oh, by the way, culture, huh? Just like what Bernard had mentioned. So culture of people and culture of the company. If you're new in the company, like you've been in different, let us just say, different shipping companies or different companies land-based. Remember, once you move from one company to another, they will have culture. So you have to understand it, and you have to commit to it. Have you ever like experienced, Bernard, wherein like for me as a trainer, I saw quite a lot of people, they're so hung up with their previous company's culture, and they're having difficulty embracing the culture of the company that they actually, they have now. So again, let it go. I cannot sing. Let it go. And then embrace the new one, because that is where you are right now. That is where your commitment should be. And then, of course, the technical competencies will always be there and willing to work. So that's very important. And try out the new things, right? Very important. And I like what you've said. I think I observed this. So avoid the behaviors that are the following. So again, complaining. I think a lot of people murmur or complain a lot, which are not helpful. So if you have grievances, for example, with your manager, with your leader, or with, with anyone else, if as an adult, deal with it first before you deal with before you raise it up to your leader, right?
Yes.
Simply because if you can, sort things out between the two of you, that's quite great, and it will avoid those.
I mean, nobody forced you to go
Yeah.
on board. Nobody forced you there. You actually applied for it.
Yes.
Nobody just took you and, no, you need to go on board and work there. Nobody. You went there by yourself, openly, and then once you go on board, you keep on complaining.
Yes,
I
and
mean,
it will not help you. Especially, Bernard already emphasized, we are we there, but sometimes, you might feel more alone because because of the complaining, you tend to draw yourself away from the we, right?
yes.
So why not discuss the differences? And maybe we don't know, the other person might not be aware about the situation, and at least discuss rather than argue. And when you complain a lot of negativity fills your heart, and fills your mind first, and then your heart, and then the action will follow. It will be against you. So don't use it for your disadvantage.
And the
And
work
then,
people trying to recruit as well.
yes, that's the bad part. So there are many bees now. Yeah.
Okay, somebody who's keep on complaining and then tries to recruit other people, try to convince them that he is correct, that the complaint is,
Mm-mm.
correct.
So
Eh,
I think it's more on the, I think the number two that you've mentioned, sometimes you don't notice that your mind is not as open. It becomes a little bit of narrow-minded, and
yeah,
maybe is it your communication style again? So you might be afraid of conflict or
yes,
confrontation, but what they're actually doing, Bernard, is they're making it worse, right? So
that's that's just an scapegoat for them.
yeah, so it's
They
better.
keep complaining because
Yes,
they might be something in there that really needs to be addressed,
correct. I like
but
it.
that's his scapegoat complaint.
Mm. Yeah, so I think it's better to address the situation, have the courage. So again, we'll go back to what Bernard had mentioned. It's again the courage.
Number
If
one,
if you have the courage to complain, you should have the courage to bring and address the concern, right? Because maybe you might be the catalyst or the key to address the situation,
yes,
right? Unless somebody brings it up to the leader or to the person who can actually help resolve it, then nothing will happen, right? So
yes,
it's better you go straight in, you follow the command, you command of the chain of command, so that at least there will be also respect. And again, just like what was mentioned is just prioritize safety so that you will not be careless too. Because uh, it's hard. It's
yes,
not an excuse at
playing
times,
safe.
especially when the standards and the protocols and the rules and regulations are well set. Remember, the the manuals that they have given to you. It's electronic now. You can also access it from your from
Yes,
your
yes,
phone,
yes.
right? The employee policy manual and all the SMS and the rest. So it's there not for you to just keep it there stored safely, but it's there for you at least to read it. It's a lot, yes, because that's the cost of maintaining high quality and safety.
It should be a
Right.
lot because it has your life on it.
Yes,
Your
exactly.
life
I agree.
depends on it. Will
Yes,
you be willing to depend your life for just one? piece of paper.
Mhm.
It should be a lot.
Yes.
Should be
Yes.
more.
So that's a positive way of looking at it, Bernard, right? So at least when you see a lot, you can say, this company really, keeps us safe and,
Exactly.
not only the guests. So that's quite great. So with that, everyone, looking forward that you learned a lot from our discussion for this part one of our let's talk about career success with Bernard. Now, we definitely would like to see you on our part two as we continue and learn more tips from Bernard from his career success, especially how did he successfully did his career shift from being having nursing as his course and becoming a seafarer. So that's something that we definitely will share to you by tomorrow. So thank you, everyone. Will not yet say Bernard will not say goodbye yet because tomorrow we'll definitely be with him. So for the meantime, everyone, I simply want to say have a great day and we'll see you in our next episode.